Opening mics. Good afternoon, everybody. Christine Barconi here in our NBC4i Streaming Center. Today we are talking to Ohio Attorney General Dave Yost. We are talking about Ohio State football, something that's on the minds of a lot of people. Your recommendation is making a lot of waves because we are not hearing a lot from the Big Ten. Will we have football? Will we not have football? You talked to our Dan Perlman yesterday, and you stated that if we don't have football, your recommendation would be for Ohio State to sue the Big Ten. Attorney General, tell us about that. Why would you recommend that?
Well, every contract has an implied covenant of good faith dealing. And when the NFL is playing, when the SEC and the ACC are playing, when hundreds of high school football games are going on tonight, it's just hard to say that it's reasonable to make football go away for the whole conference. You know, if an individual school wants to opt out because of their assessment of the risk, okay, that's great. But when they start interfering with the contract rights and the tens of millions of dollars associated with this, there's a legal remedy for those kinds of situations.
Yesterday, we heard for the first time from an NFL general manager talking about how it was a Steelers general manager saying that people who aren't playing this fall, he's less likely to draft them. So you kind of get even into more financial ramifications for these individual players as well, right?
Yeah, my heart goes out not just to the football players, but this impacts every student athlete at Ohio State. People usually aren't aware of this, but uh, let's face it, the gymnastics program doesn't generate a whole lot of cash. So at Ohio State, and like almost every university in the country, student athletics are funded by that football revenue stream. The men's programs, the women's programs, swimming, soccer, lacrosse, rugby, gymnastics, wrestling, on, you name it, they all rely on that money. So not only does it represent a significant loss to the program, it could end up being devastating to thousands of student athletes at Ohio State.
Now, of course, the lawsuit would deal with money, but no one's downplaying COVID-19 in this
Of
situation.
course.
Ryan Day came out with a statement yesterday and said, hey, it's really hard for us to watch Notre Dame play this weekend, Clemson to play this weekend. They're all playing. We're all doing the same things. Why can they play and we can't? Would that go into the basis of the lawsuit, perhaps?
Well, sure. It goes to the question of whether, the Big Ten is dealing in good faith with the member schools. But let me add that talks are ongoing. This may well end up being resolved,
I mean, we hope
and
it does.
and then there's no need for even any discussions about legal remedies.
Have you
I've got to
spoken?
say, I've been very impressed with uh, Christina Johnson, the new president of Ohio State,
Mhm.
has hit the ground running and shown a great deal of leadership here. She's going to be a strong leader for Ohio State, and I think she has a real good shot at being able to persuade people to see things her way.
Yeah, Dr. Johnson, a student athlete, a former student athlete herself, she gets it. Football makes the budget for, her former sport and other sports as well. Also, something that she came out and she didn't have to do this, but she let everybody know that she voted yes for football. But the majority of other schools did not. You mentioned to Dan yesterday, Ohio State could perhaps sue the other schools. On what basis could they do that?
Again, it's the covenant of fair dealing and a contract kind of action. Look, if you want to not play, that's one thing. Saying that nobody else in the league can play is a completely different thing.
Yeah, absolutely. What's kind of been your assessment of all of this? Like how would the if it comes to it and there is a lawsuit, how would that work out? Would it be your office representing Ohio State, or what's the I guess the logistics behind that?
Yeah, we've got a team that's done some routine preparation in the event that we have to be ready to make a presentation to Ohio State. But they're the client, and no decision has been made.
Hmm.
Even if the season goes away, we don't go to court unless the client wants to go to court.
Absolutely. Have you spoken to other state attorney generals, attorneys generals, excuse me, Pennsylvania maybe for Penn State, Nebraska? Obviously, their players have already filed a lawsuit. Have you spoken to the top attorneys in their states?
No comment.
Okay. Attorney General, what else can you add that we haven't already heard? I know you guys have been working and you have tweeted that you've been in discussion, but what, I guess, I mean, does a lawsuit mean that maybe it'll be pressured to play? Is that the end goal? Because it's more than just money for these players. It's they've worked so hard.
Right. And if you're in your senior year or up on a decision about whether you want to, go pro,
Hmm.
this last season, being there or not being there can make a big difference in whether you get drafted and what your contract would look like. But look, here's the thing. Should we be talking about COVID-19 and the dangers and the health? Absolutely.
Hmm.
It can be uh, obviously deadly, even for a young person. And there have to be protocols. We can't go about this as though it's any other season. But in addition to that, I think it's important to remember the human costs, and it's important to recognize the long-term damage to businesses in Ohio, to careers, to investments that have been made, and not the least of which is the economic harm that the university and the athletics program would suffer. All of these things need to be taken into account in order to reach a wise decision. But
Um,
if you had to sum it up, it really is, why is it okay for all these other places to be doing exactly the same thing
mhm.
and not us? Does the Big Ten have it right and everybody else has it wrong? I was talking to my friend in Georgia, who's the Attorney General, Chris Carr,
Mhm.
fine man. We were talking about how COVID-19 is impacting our states and our offices. And I said, it's amazing to me that here we are in 2020 and the SEC is playing football and the Big Ten is not. And there was silence for a second on the other end of the line. And Chris said, well, General, I'm not sure how that's different than any other year. So I'm going to have to get him back for that one.
Yeah. Oh man, I don't like that. Um, Attorney General, so if Ohio State doesn't want to do this, could you perhaps sue on behalf of the state of Ohio for lost tax revenue, on behalf of the different businesses in Columbus, or could the city of Columbus itself sue the Big Ten?
There's always creative ideas, but that wouldn't be a contract action. The
Okay.
state of Ohio is not part of that contract. They're not an intended third-party beneficiary. And so you have to start thinking about, other kinds of grounds, and that gets a little bit more attenuated. I don't see at the moment a theory of law that I like well enough to go to the expense of a lawsuit.
Okay. All right, Attorney General, thank you so much for being with us today. I really appreciate it. It's just kind of a waiting game at this point. Something that Coach Day expressed yesterday. He goes, "We need some communication," and I feel like us in the media, that's what we're waiting for as well. So we appreciate your insight and talking to us today.
Thank you. At the end of the day, these people that are working at the Big Ten, the college presidents, they didn't make this decision because they were trying to be mean.
Yeah.
When they made the decision in August, they were doing what they genuinely thought was the right thing to do. And they're continuing to talk. I'm hopeful that these smart reasonable people are going to be able to find a way forward.
All right. Well, everybody else did it, including your friend at the SEC, who you're going to have to. We'll wait and see what if we can get him back. Maybe we'll see them in the college football playoff or something like that.
Have a great evening.
All right. You too. Bye. All right, everybody, thank you so much for watching. We will post the full interview on NBC4i.com just a few minutes from now, and you can also continue to watch it on Facebook as well. We'll see you later. Bye.